Busy times in the drone world with an imminent DJI Flip, a new Mavic 4, and will there even be a new Mini 5 Pro on the horizon? In the USA, trouble afoot, customs causing problems, the on-off ban on DJI drones. It looks like DJI are pumping out new releases as fast as they can, whilst they can. So here's a quick roundup of what happened in 2024 and what we can look forward to coming very soon. Hello, I'm Ian and I play with drones. I thought it was a good time of year to have a little reflection on what got launched, what got dropped in 2024, as well as a sneaky look around the corner of what's coming up in early 2025. Like I said, near imminent DJI Flip and a Mavic 4 not too far away. Now, during 2024, we had a fair few new consumer-level drones released, although not all of them were truly new. The Mini 4K was launched as a budget 4K drone that was more just a relaunch of the existing budget Mini 2, but with a slightly improved video bitrate. At the same time, we found the Mini 2 and more recently the Mini 3 Pro dropped from the DJI website, leaving us with a scaled-down list of minis that I talked about in last week's video. Just a few weeks before that launch, in early April, we had the Avata 2, of course, and the Goggles 3 launched, both of which had some nice improvements over the original Avata, and certainly as far as the Goggles 3 goes, some major improvements to the goggles used to actually fly it. Then later on in the year, we had the surprisingly new little Neo, launched in September, opening up drone and FPV flying to a whole new market with very, very low price and multiple ways to control it. It really was something very new from DJI, being part camera drone, part selfie and part FPV drone. But it was its low price, despite keeping a 4K camera, that was amongst its biggest surprise. But for me, of course, biggest release of the year was the Air 3S. Long awaited, launched with a list of new features that really did surprise many people, myself included. What did we have? Improved camera, improved larger sensor, LiDAR nighttime obstacle avoidance, massively improved automatic return to home, and a new active track auto mode. Made the Air 3S absolutely great fun when I was putting it through its paces up in the Lake District. Have to admit though, the joy was slightly tempered by there just being the 1-inch sensor that many people argued was actually a step down from the 20 genuine megapixel sensor found on the older Air 2S. I have to say though, for me, there is no doubt the Air 3S was a huge step up with all new electronics and processing under the bonnet as well. It really is still now my absolute favourite go-to drone. But DJI were on a roll in late 24, weren't they? Rolling out these drones, as I said, but there was also the Osmo Action 5 and the new Mic Mini as well, as I say, trying to probably get everything they could at in an ever increasingly hostile US market. US customs blocking the import of the new Air 3S, and as I said, the on, off, and currently on again, potential outright ban on new DJI drones is on the horizon. So I guess there was and still is an element of getting as much out as fast as they can whilst they still can. But with all of this, there was still the elephant in the room, wasn't there? Silently growing larger with each month rolling by. No new consumer Mavic 3 releases at all, whilst other newly released models that were launched in 2024 could all work with a nice new all singing, all dancing and more powerful RC2 controller. That does not work with an older Mavic 3 series. So what was happening to the flagship models of DJI? Well, judging by the Mavic 3 models quietly becoming out of stock on the DJI site, as well as new FCC listings for Mavic 4, it does seem the newest iteration of the Mavic series is due for release in the near future. In fact, we have 2 new DJI models that have been listed with the FCC database, meaning their release is nearing. Not only the Mavic 4, but also, as I said, the DJI Flip. For now, let's just talk about the Mavic 4 before we go on to the Flip. After all the new features that were launched with the Air 3S, any Mavic 4 was going to have a fair bit of catching up to do. But of course, one area that it already led the way in and still does, of course, is in the camera and sensor department. Now, at the time when the Air 3S was launched, I wondered why it didn't come out with an even bigger and better sensor. And I figured this may well be to maintain some sort of disparity between the flagship lineup of Mavic models. But after a 2-year gap in releases, there is a very high expectation of some significant improvements to the Mavic lineup that go way beyond just a new gimbal or camera lens cluster. There have been a few leaked photos and specs pointing towards a significant overhaul. Chances are it's going to have a completely new body and camera gimbal. It is more cylindrical and round, although that fancy looking controller you can see in the picture there is more likely to be just a generic DJI controller for testing. But one thing that does surprise me is the weight. For me, I found the Mavic 3 just that little bit too big, too heavy. So to see the weight of a new Mavic 4 going even higher, the specs are saying to over 1 kilogram, that is a real surprise. It's going to very firmly keep it in the C2 labelled category, and I am surprised they're getting even bigger and even heavier. What else? Obviously, along with the variable aperture, which is already present on the Mavic 3 series, the other big feature would be the inclusion of a stepless variable ND filter, which will be the very first time we're seeing an electronic variable ND filter on a DJI drone. And it would be a really, really interesting new feature. To be clear, we're not talking about fitting a rotating little filter here, a bit of glass, but it's actually an LCD-based electro-optical lens that's going to literally get darker or lighter with the applied voltage. Absolutely love it. But of course, it is all speculation at the moment because the Mavic 4 still seems to be a few months away. There doesn't seem to be any being tested out in the wider world at the moment, so the leaks are few and far between. Pricing also looks to be at the top end of the scale, easily in the £2,000, $2,000 region, unlike the other new model that's causing a bit of a buzz, the new and completely different, again, DJI Flip. Now, this little beast has got no shortage of leaks and pictures, and it looks like it will really genuinely be out in the next few weeks. Like the Neo was, the Flip looks to be another break from the usual DJI Mini format. Also, like the Neo, it looks like it's firmly aimed at the more everyday flyer end of the market, taking aim at both the beginners and also existing flyers as a second drone for those flying one of the larger models already. It does seem to have a striking design incorporating prop guards that don't look like the usual chunky plastic prop guards seen on other models. It's a very, very different style of folding as well, letting it easily go into a pocket or small backpack. Interesting to see they've obviously learnt maybe from the Neo and put a decent camera on it, matching the existing Mini 4 Pro's 1/1.3 inch sensor. DJI Flip being sub 250 grams, of course, that's going to sit nicely alongside the existing Mini series of drones. Way fewer restrictions and rules. But it's its different design and decent camera, along with the RC2 remote, that I think is going to make it a very good competitor for the existing Mini 4 Pro. And so that actually leads me on to speculate whether or not there will even be a Mini 5 Pro. One side of me thinks there is already an oversaturation of models in the DJI range. And even with those older models being discontinued, we've still got around 4 different Minis currently on sale. Add the Neo, add the new Flip, and you're left wondering just how many sub 250 gram models do DJI need? Certainly absolutely nothing on the radar yet for a Mini 5 Pro at all, but if anyone hears anything, then of course let me know. Equally, you could argue that the Mini series has been DJI's most successful, so why stop the most successful model that you produce? I don't know. Anyway, look, for now, DJI Flip and the Mavic 4 are the new models to watch out for, as well as also the RC Track. That was a completely new little control unit that was supposed to come out with the Air 3S, originally planned to be released alongside it back in October, but it did get delayed for some reason, but hopefully that is going to be available very soon too. Wow. So, no respite, no signs of DJI slowing up. As ever, don't forget to keep an eye on the Grey Arrows Drone Club. They are a constant source of information on upcoming releases, as well as truckloads of good stuff on all things drone anyway. So again, as ever, a link below. But look, for now, that's about it. As ever, do thumb me up. Let me know your comments and thoughts below about what's coming up and what's been good for you in 2024. But until next time, here's to a brilliant 2025 to you all. Have fun, happy flying.